Okay, today we're going to talk about 2nd Nephi chapter 12. And in 2nd Nephi chapter 12, we're talking about Isaiah 2. And you'll find that chapter 13 is Isaiah 3 and chapter 14 is Isaiah 4. They follow through in this. And this is where Isaiah is really doing his visions and things. One interesting thing that I circled over here already is that in comparing the King James Bible with English, or with the Book of Mormon, that there's over 200, or about 200 verses that were the same wording, but out of 433, that means more than half of the verses of Isaiah are quoted in the book, quoted differently. Now we're going to give an example of that a little bit later, of why these might be, but it's really cool. Interesting enough, really quick, is that the Dead Sea Scrolls, they have the Isaiah scrolls that they found. A lot of those actually differences are in those scrolls as well. And now let's go to a different subject, which is right here. And it says, "Now it came to pass that in the last days, when the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow into it, and many people shall go and say, Come ye, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and the house of God of Jacob, and he shall teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." First of all, Zion and Jerusalem. Zion, as we know it, is the church, and wherever the church is. And at one point it was considered gathering to Zion, which was Utah at the time. And Jerusalem, of course, we know where Jerusalem is, but it talks about Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. The word of the Lord is the Bible. Now let's go back up here. When the mountain of the Lord's house, that's talking about the temple. But when we usually talk about this verse here, we specifically talk about the Salt Lake Temple. And so that we consider the mountain of the Lord's house in the top of the mountains. Just quickly, something that I found really interesting, and they say here, it's interesting. This is something that I was just thinking about. Talking about the mountains, because the mountains are the Rocky Mountains there, and we've got the Salt Lake Temple about right here. But the Rocky Mountains is part of the everlasting hills. Again, in the scriptures and modern revelation, talks about the everlasting hills being the Rocky Mountains, which extend from Canada all the way down through the United States, through Mexico, Panama, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. Amazing, really. And as you see, they even go underneath there a little bit. The ridge does. This is why they're the everlasting hills. It's the only mountain range that goes from north to south completely in the world. And in that, we have over 30 temples in that mountain range. And when I was on my mission, the Provo Temple was doing over a quarter of all of the world's temple work, and they're still quite busy there. So more than half the temple work's being done in those mountains. So much of that prophecy shows right through there. He continues on talking about soothsayers and treasures and things of men, because they've gone astray. It's kind of obvious to see how he's going there. He's saying, cease from being with all these people and be with the Lord. And that's what he's talking about there. So we've got, as we were saying, all of this about the idols and loftiness, and you can just feel it about being the proud and that. And then it says right down in these ones here, it says, yea, the day of the Lord shall come upon all the cedars of Lebanon, and be lifted up on the oaks of Bashan, and then talks about the upon the ships of the sea, and upon the ships of Tarshish. Now, this is one of the ones where it changes a little bit, because in the Greek Septuagint, I think it's that they say the ships of Tarshish, while in the Hebrew, they say the ships of the sea. And yet this has both of them in there. And just a really quick cap on what's going on here. This right here is what's called Lebanon. And you might recognize some of the names. But here we got Kingdom of Judah and Jerusalem area. Then we've got Bashan, which was kind of harder to understand. It's basically Ammon. The king of Bashan is king of Ammon as well. So we got that. And again, here's Jerusalem and Israel from there. And then Tarshish. I thought this was interesting. Remember, this, if you look at the story of Noah, or not Noah, Jonah, he was going to sail to Tarshish, which is clear over here, instead of going to Nineveh. But in this sense, it's going there. So what he's talking about is, here they are surrounded. They've got Lebanon, the Bashan, or the kingdoms right next to Jerusalem. So that's their surrounding, and also out to the what would have been the ends of the earth, basically, Tarshish. That is what they're talking about there. They're that everywhere. And the thing is that they use cedars and oaks. These trees are especially in the scriptures, as being the strong ones. So it's talking about the strength of these places will be it says, yea, in the day of the Lord shall come upon all the cedars of Lebanon, for they are high, and lifted up upon all the oaks of Bashan. Basically saying, no, they can't stand against the Lord, no matter how strong they are. And further on, their high towers, their French walls, anything that's talks about strength. And it says, and their idols will be utterly abolished. It's just saying, the Lord wins. And it says, cease, last part is, cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils, wherein he is he to be accounted of. In other words, sorry, I can't read today. So basically it says, stop relying on the arm of man and rely on the Lord. So really easy to understand once you understand just a little bit. And we'll talk more about it in the next one.